This weekend, we're at Hockenheim as Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup, reconvenes after a short break. And it's a crucial point of the season because there is this event and two more in quick succession to determine the champions. It's a very strong 41-car entry around the Hockenheim circuit, and that is going to deliver action. Of that, there is no question in these two 1-hour double driver races. Tyre management and traffic management, absolutely crucial, with everybody now eager for points as we get to the business end of the 2023 championship. The European element of Fanatec GT World Challenge goes along with Australia, Asia and America. And this calendar, 5 endurance rounds and 5 Sprint Cup events as well, to determine champions across overall as well as silver, gold and bronze. In Pro, it is any classification of driver. Championship leaders Raffaele Marciello and Timur Boguslavski. But a winner here last year, when it was the Endurance Cup that ran at Hockenheim, was Christopher Mies. And at his home circuit, the German driver is once again eager for victory.
Obviously not far from where I live, about like 2.5, 3 hours, so I've been here a lot. Last year in Endurance we won our first race together here, so I have good memories at this track. Also we won other championships here before. It's a good place, it's old school racetrack. Obviously there's a lot of discussion with track limits, but I kind of like this track here.
Amazingly, because they are triple champions in sprint, Dries van Thor and Charles Weerts have yet to win in 2023, and the BMW seem to be struggling in practice and qualifying. It's not been a great start to the weekend.
It's a track I like driving on. Last year we were very competitive. We were 3 times first in qualifying with Dries and Kelvin, and leading the way in the first hour. Then we had an issue with the gearbox that forced us to retire, so unfortunately no good result for us. But good memories, and it's a truck where I typically perform quite well, so let's see what this weekend will bring.
Valentino Rossi comes to Hockenheim as a GT3 race winner. Remember, the last time the cars hit the track for a Sprint Cup round at Misano, it was Valentino and Maxime Martin who were the winners. Confidence is up now. Let's see how he fares coming to Hockenheim, which so far has not been a great track for the BMWs.
You know, on the paper have 2 difficult tracks, Hockenheim and Valencia. But you never know, and also in the practice the car is fast and we are stronger than what we expect. So we will see. We have to improve on Saturday, try to take more points on Saturday, and try to be strong on Sunday like in the first 2 races.
Another German brand looking for a good result this weekend is Porsche. Christian Engelhardt is at the wheel of one of the 2 dynamic GT entries, and around here is always a force to be reckoned with. But again, is this going to be a circuit under the BOP kind to the Porsches? We'll see.
41 cars is the challenge, obviously. The pit lane is not so long, so we are a bit on top of each other. It's not going to be so easy. When the pit window opens and everybody wants to come in the same lap, then it could be tricky. So I hope that we don't get boxed in or something like this at the pit stop. That's a real side challenge, to have a good strategy, the right moment to come into the pit.
There's going to be a big battle within the Gold Cup, where you can have 2 golds or a gold and a silver driver to make up a driver combination. The championship here is being led by a BMW. Callum Williams and Nicholas Crutten have had a very good season thus far in class in their WRT run BMW, and Nicholas Crutten, who's been a race winner in GT3 machinery on home soil in the past, is looking for success here this weekend.
I have a lot of people coming this weekend, especially the family. Yeah, next to Nürburgring, this is the second closest track. It's only 1.5 hours from home, so yeah, it always feels good to be in a local environment, and yeah, I can't wait to get started.
In silver, it's all about silver-graded drivers, and there's also welcome variety in terms of the chassis. Take Nova Race with the Honda NSX GT3. It's a great shape, and it's always a popular addition to the grid. The team making progress every time out, and one of the men behind the wheel, Jacopo Guidetti. He too is looking for good results around here as he learns more and more about GT3 racing.
The track in this championship we haven't seen before, but yes, we have to understand very fast the track and the championship, because the level is very high. But yes, we are an Italian championship, and we have to make our best to fight for the Silver Cup.
Now this Lamborghini is an interesting addition to the entry, especially in silver. The SRO Motorsport Hockenheim has been a race winner within the DTM this year. That's a single driver competition, and Maximilian Powell, one of the drivers here this weekend, the man that guided the car to DTM success.
Obviously 2022, with our full season commitment in paddock GT Masters, we were very competitive, scoring a lot of podiums. And now, yeah, we are with the same car here, so let's see. We are figuring out heating the tires, doing pit stop, etc. So yeah, let's see what we can do. We are just trying to learn and make the best out of it.
But in silver, leading the championship and banking points, this Audi. Lorenzo Petresi and Alex Acker, the two drivers, they're both quick, they're both getting stronger all the time. And so this really is the benchmark car. And here on home soil, Alex Acker is looking for points to increase that lead.
I mean, it's a series. It has always been like that also in the past. And whenever I've raced or competed in the silver class, it's always been quite tight. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be leading the championship together with my teammate Petresi, and yeah, I think it's a good one.
There are some fascinating driver combinations in the Bronze Cup as well. You have to have one bronze-graded driver, but they can be with a silver or a platinum, and that means there is some talent to be found for yet another really close fight as we get set for race one here at Hockenheim. This promises to be a very busy race indeed. 41 cars set to do battle. It's a 1 hour race, and we are looking forward hugely to seeing what pans out. David Anderson and John Watson trackside. Gemma Scott on the grid with Frank Pereira.
Frank, it's great to be down here on the front row with you. It's a little bit of a surprise, I think, for everybody to see you guys qualify in that position after seeing the Audi so dominant in the session. What are we expecting in the race here?
Yeah, for sure, it looked like a little bit Audi championship behind us, but no, I think he's great. We are all growing up. You know, the team is new in the championship, so it's not easy. But I think every race we are really improving a lot, and today showed that we are getting there. And Jordan did a good job, and all together we'll try to for sure we go for the win. But it's really important that we improve and get the fight in front.
Absolutely. I wish you a great race. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Frank Pereira will be the second driver in the pole-sitting car that Jordan Pepper put onto pole position in the qualifying session this morning. And John, he did an excellent job, did Jordan Pepper?
Yeah, he came out and just nailed it without any hesitation, shadow or doubt. And as in the world of property, it's all about position, 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 and being in pole position is as good as it gets.
Ricardo Feller, race winner this year, fourth in the championship. Now, if you take the championship into consideration and compare it to the grid, the majority of the people that are fighting for the crown, a long way back, that car very well placed in contrast. Engines fire, 1 minute to go to the start. There, number 12, Fred Verviche, third on the grid. And fourth, yet another Audi, Dennis Marshall. The engineers fire the engines. The grid starts to clear. One formation lap, and then we're going to be in business. 17 corners, big braking zone up at the hairpin at turn 6.
Yes, that's what we're going to see. I think a lot of action on the opening lap. Everybody trying to make it about 6 cars wide as they come down into turn 5. And of course, it filters into a bottleneck on the exit, so it's always a bit messy on the exit as well as on the entry.
So they're looking down the grid. 77, the Silver Cup Mercedes. That car, Jordan Love and Alain Valente for this weekend. It was going to be Frank Bird. He drove yesterday, but after the sudden death of his father, Frank's returned home, and Alain Valente given the second stint in the Mercedes. That's the car that, in Jordan's hands, now will lead on silver in terms of points. Rolling start then, due to get underway. The grid is complete, no stragglers, no dramas. We do have at the very back Giacomo Altway in Ferrari number 14 after a gearbox drama this morning, so that car is going to be one to watch up from the rear of the grid as the field now accelerates away down towards turn 1. And just as it was in qualifying, track limits will be a feature of the race, because if people continue to transgress, then penalties will fly. Pit stops, 25 to 35 minutes, usual window, and the field headed by Jordan Pepper with Ricardo Feller with him at the front of the grid. Fred Verviche lines up third alongside Dennis Marshall. Then it is going to be Gilles Magnus, who has been very impressive this year as last, and Lucas Legeret, winner here when it was the Endurance Cup last year. Simon Gachet comes next, another of last year's Santalot winners. Christopher Mies is going to be 8th on the grid, 9th Christian Kleen, going well in the Pro, JP Motorsport McLaren only, 10th Charles Weers, ahead of Nikolai Kiergaard and then Jordan Love. Albert Costa lost 2 lap times, he's down to 13th alongside Fabian Schiller. Enrique Chavez comes next alongside Nicholas Crutten, who is the Gold Championship leader. Christopher Zerkling and Erwin Bastard next, ahead of Robert Renauer and César Gazot. 21st, Aurélien Panis, who's already this year had 2 gold wins. Klaus Bachler alongside, ahead of Stephen Pallet and Jim Pla. Andrea Bertolini, serial GT champion, has Rolf Ineichen for company, ahead of, now look at this, 27th championship leader, Timo Boguslavski, 1-2 watch. Adrian Delina lines up next, ahead of Lorenzo Petresi, whose Audi has an oil pressure problem, but they didn't have time after they found that to change the engine. Alongside Petresi, Norbert Siedler with a 3-place grid drop. He's ahead of Sebastien Bode and Simon Prim. Then it's Jean-Baptiste Simonar and Baptiste Moulin. Valentino Rossi, race winner. He's a long way back on the 18th row with Jacopo Guidetti for company. Then it is Jesse Salmonaldio and Nicola Marinangeli ahead of Erwin Zanotti and Matteo Desideri, with Giacomo Altway rounding out the grid. And Altway, we know he's a very, very quick driver indeed, so he is one to watch. But really, John, take a pin, take the entry list, put one into t'other, and you might find a winner.
Well, you've got 7 Audis on the first 4 rows of the grid, pole position of a Lamborghini. They're all basically the same Audi V10 power unit. So those 8 cars, I don't know what they're going to do. I suspect they'll try and win the race, probably going into the hairpin at the end of the straighter on the opening lap, which would not be the smartest move. So I would certainly take opportunities, make opportunities, but remember, there will be penalties for track limit abuse, and those have been paid out in dozens throughout Friday running and here this morning as well.
So it is going to be Lamborghini versus Audi at the front of the grid. You can see drivers edging left and right, trying to generate warmth, get the tyre pressures up as well. Adrian Delina in number 54 Porsche, good to go. He shares with Christian Engelhardt. And so now as the field turns into the stadium section, getting themselves into the line, into formation, they will be released at the end of this lap, assuming that the race director is happy with everybody's position. And as they then turn their way up now from the Sachskurve, turn 13, little kink, 14, 15, that S, and then 16, 17, effectively one long right, but demarks as 2 corners, then up towards the timing line, by which stage the leading car, the pace car as it is, will have gone for the pit lane and will be in business. Jordan Pepper then in the green Lamborghini for VSR Vincenzo Sospiri Racing on the inside of the front row. The Trezor Orange 1 Audi, Ricardo Feller at the wheel of it alongside. Drivers nervously watch their co-drivers in action. Race 1 of the weekend in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup, is about to get underway. The lights go green. It's a bit messy in the mid-pack, but it's blast off, and it's Pepper that leads then. Jordan Pepper puts himself ahead of Ricardo Feller as they dive down towards turn 1. Then Verviche and Marshall go toe-to-toe. 1 or 2 run very, very wide at turn 1, but a good getaway by Pepper.
Yes, did well. I thought Ricardo Feller might have tried to get around the outside. He was on the cleaner part of the track going into turn 1, but I think there was an excellent start from Jordan Pepper to consolidate his pole position. And look, all behind him, it's a traffic jam all the way through the exit of 1 into turn 2, and then all the way down this long, sort of almost curve of what they call the back straight down into the hairpin bend, where the first big overtake opportunity in reality is going to look at Feller trying to line up Jordan Pepper, but realizes, and rightly too, no opportunity.
So out of the hairpin with the new tarmac lane is their contact. It's getting very dusty. Yes, there is. There's a spin and drama. 1 off, 2 off. We've got a Lamborghini that's gone round and trying to rejoin and force the pack out of his way. That was all a bit leery. The other car that went around was 25 by the look of it, the Erwin Bastard Patrick Niederhauser Audi. And I would suggest that the Lamborghini that we saw spin was the either Baptiste Moulin or Rolf Ineichen entry. We'll check at the end of the lap, but drama up in the hairpin.
Yes, not really a surprise, particularly at the tail of the field. Everybody concertina into that hairpin bend, and those at the back are still in full throttle, while those directly ahead are getting out of the throttle and ahead of them on the brakes. So this is the usual motorway concertina effect.
The race leaders then wriggle their way up toward the end of the lap. Now 188 here has got a bit of work to do. This is Enrique Chavez, who I understand started from the pit lane. So let's just see where he is in relation to everybody else, or whether that's a a glitch in the system, looking at the data that we have. Over the timing line goes Jordan Pepper, ahead of Ricardo Feller. Fred Vervisch is third, Dennis Marshall fourth, fifth is Gilles Magnus. In sixth place it's Mies, then Wirtz is 8th, 9th is Schiller, in 10th place Cruton, there number 77 is Jordan Love 11th, Robert Renauer is behind him as the cars accelerate their way up over the line.
In fairness, it's been a relatively good start, a little bit of action down at turn 5, but more or less everybody getting through the opening lap, and 41 car field on a circuit just under 4.6 kilometres, 4 wide coming down side by side here, certainly as the midfield makes their way down for the second time into this hairpin bend.
Just to confirm, Enrique Chavez ran 17th, so he definitely didn't start from the pit lane, even though he showed as having made a pit stop. I wonder whether he was so out of position at turn 1, he actually crossed the pit out beam, trying to avoid dramas. Drama up at the hairpin, that looks like Palet's gone around as well. More mayhem and debris all over the road.
Yeah, the Hexus Porsche likewise has gone around, and bodywork and damage to the right rear of the Mercedes. So that, well, certainly it'll be a full course yellow, I suspect, to get that car removed. And that inevitably leads to, David, you know what?
Safety cars lead safety cars, don't they? They breed them. And we've also got Sebastian Bode's Mercedes into the pits. That's picked up damage. So the hairpin, 2 laps in a row, has been a pinch point. Now, up front, Jordan Pepper, Ricardo Feller lead the way. The Porsche there, 55, is Christopher Zirkling. But the race leaders are almost nose to tail. That is the leader. That is Jordan Pepper. The start is under investigation. And he's under attack as well. Ricardo Feller going with him then. It's Lamborghini versus Audi. 2 laps in the book now.
And Feller looks as if he's got the pace, but has he got enough of it to get round the Lamborghini? Both are setting sector times, purple sector times, one in sector 1, the other in sector 2. So this duo are making a sort of a mini break from Fred Vervisch in 3rd place. He's got clear air back to Lucas Legere in 4th position.
Now Valentino Rossi is up to 24th. Safety car deployed. Safety car is called, and straight away the driver's backing off. Coming up out of turn 4, punctured tyre, stricken car, debris on the road. Jim Plough's race is done. Safety car is deployed.
The right rear, whether that's suspension damage or just maybe the tyre's been cut down, but the car is stationary. There are 2 cars there, but it's one of those by any chance. No, they're both cars. One of them is, in fact, there we see there's a Mercedes in steaming like the proverbial. So that's also had contact, and that's, I don't know, that's the fire extinguisher has maybe been accidentally activated.
Well, that was Sebastian Bode out of the race. The other car that's come into the pit lane is Nikolai Schiergaard's McLaren that had a lot of potential yesterday. Valentino Rossi at work. So now running behind the safety car until the road is clear up at the Spitzkehrer. All of this counting, of course, within the hour. Bad news when a car goes for its box into the garage, so 159, with a big chunk missing out of the front.
Dear me. Well, there's a bit of carbon fibre work that needs to be, I mean, the entire left front of the car, a lot of it is single panels, nevertheless. That is significant amount of damage to the left front of the Garage 59 McLaren.
Now the start under investigation. It got a bit messy, look, with a Gulf liveried McLaren, so that answers one question. One definitely did not start from the pits, but it did get squeezed over the white line, look. So it's all a bit messy in the middle, and the start is being looked at. But a good getaway by Pepper to control that all the way down towards turn 1 and leave everybody else squabbling behind him. Bit of hip and shoulder in the middle.
I mean, look, everybody, I mean, so far off the racetrack. I mean, literally, there must be sort of 30 metres or more off the racetrack there. The 25 has turned round, the Lamborghini likewise. This is the opening lap. The Lamborghini just sticks it back in gear and doesn't give you know what about anybody else coming, just turns the car and drives on.
And that was the second lap where Plough got turned around and Stephen Palat went around as well. I think it might have been Plough that got involved with Bastard the previous lap. So on lap 2, in a way, the bite a bit. But Jim Plough got turned around, and it's his car that's triggered the safety car. Incident between Rolfi Nyken, Bastard, and also number 14 of Altway under investigation. Super slow-mo shots we're going to hopefully use a lot of in the race, because it's an amazing view, that of the cars at 16 and 17 rattling up over the curb, all the load going through. You can see the suspension working, the tyres working, and everything there.
You know, I look at these, I think, I mean, first of all, the technology is amazing, but when you see the amount of deflection that goes on, a tyre being distorted over the curbs, thinking about the shock loading going into the dampers, the shock absorbers, they are dampers and shock absorbers, same thing. But just the whole rear suspension getting absolutely hammered by the running over curves.
So Valentino Rossi at work. Let's hear from him.
So it's T24 for us. Good job and keep pushing. Watch out for debris in turn 6. Debris in turn 6. Safety car procedure, mate. Safety car. We have safety car procedure now. Safety car.
So the engineer talking to Valet.
I have a map, so I take one car with the front left. I don't know, I think the front left is still okay. Okay, mate.
Safety car in this lap. Safety car in this lap.
Just heard also the voice of Alain Adon, the race director, saying safety car in this lap, so we'll be back racing this time.
Yes, Valentino Rossi slightly concerned that there was a bit of damage to the left front of his BMW.
Timo Boguslavski, championship leader down the pit lane. So in he comes, 88 down the pit road. Now this is not good news.
No, it is not. We don't know what the reason is. And there is the lead, but they're virtually the last team in the pit lane. I suspect he may have run over some of the debris on the racetrack, or is this going to be the car pushed back into the garage and the end of a run, which is going to be hugely disappointing. It's going into the garage. The dolly's under it now. We don't know why that car has gone back in. Is it because there is a problem we're not aware of as yet? Or would this be a real roll of the dice thinking, well, we're not going to get into the points, so would we be cynical enough to push the car back in the garage and say, oh, we've got a problem, and just save the car for qualifying for tomorrow morning for Raffaele Marcia? I mean, I don't know. You've got to be as cynical as I am to think something like that. But your teams have got to work for what they think are going to be the best object, the best outcomes for them.
Well, it was 26th when it got to pit in. It had been a bit higher up the order than that, but either way, it's in the box, it's in the garage. So the championship leaders out of the race. Even if the car does rejoin, it'll be so far back, it'll be out of the points, out of contention. We'll go racing again this time as the field wriggles its way up then towards the Sachs curve. So Jordan Pepper has led the first 4 laps of the race, and that is Boguslavski out of the car, out of the race, helmet off, job done, day done. Big disappointment, points go begging. So we will be back racing this time. Jordan Pepper sprints away, takes Riccardo Feller with him. Fred Vervisch next in the queue as the cars then now come up towards turn 17, ready to accelerate up towards the timing lines. It's going to be the Lamborghini ahead. Riccardo Feller sitting in the wheel tracks. We are back racing here at Hockenheim. Lamborghini, Audi, BMW as they go across the line.
And Riccardo Feller is determined not to let the Lamborghini get ahead. He stuck to him all the way through up until we had that safety car deployment. His plan is to do absolutely the same thing. Fred Vervisch in third place. There was a bonus for him. He had fallen back from that, say up the inside. The BMW and the Mercedes just about scraped through.
That was Fabian Schiller.
Yeah, into turn 2. It was actually not into turn 1. So
yeah, Fabian Schiller keeping Nicholas Krutten at bay, and that is a gold battle. Krutten versus one of the alternative classes for Fabian Schiller.
A number of cars gained some a weight BOP bonus, and some cars had to add weight. So the BMWs had a 5 kilogram weight bonus, and the Audis, I think the McLarens had a 10 kilogram additional weight to their car to even out the BOP.
Out wide goes Schiller in the bronze class Mercedes, so he's lost position now to Krutten, and Nicholas Krutten straight away up onto the back of Charles Weerts. Now, Weerts, you kind of assume in the car that he shares with Vanthoor is going to be the BMW Trailblazer, but right now Nicholas Krutten is giving him a bit of a workover. Now, Timo Boguslavski out of the race. We've seen that. Let's find out why. Gemma has found out for us. Gem?
Timo, very disappointing to see you retired. What's the problem?
So I hit the car in front after the straight on the hairpin. So it was some incident in front, I think. And yeah, I mean, I was braking at my normal point, but the car in front of me stopped quite a lot because of the contact with the other cars. So yeah, I just hit a Porsche. Sorry for that, because I was not having another way to go. I mean, to avoid the contact. So
very disappointing. Thank you.
Thanks, Gemma. So damage then for Timo Boguslavski's car. Valentino Rossi has been off the road as well, coming into the stadium. and so was Giacomo Altway. So cars that were trying to go forward had fallen off the road and dropped back, and in fact Altway's Ferrari coming into the pit lane. Right, out of all of that, Jordan Pepper still leads Ricardo Feller. Fred Vervisch, though, dropping away again in third.
Yes, the pace of the lead 2 cars just that little bit better than those are following, so Fred Vervisch has now got his mirrors full of Legerger in his Audi, Christopher Mies in his Audi, Dennis Marshall in his Audi, and Magnus in his Audi, and that rounds out the top 7, Audi, with the exception of race leader.
So this is Valentino Rossi. This is the moment I was explaining. He's been off the road coming into the stadium, through the gravel, gets as far as the grass.
Don't know how he got to be there on the sort of early mid part of the corner, just maybe made a misjudgment, but certainly got well and truly off onto the gravel, then onto the grass, back onto the racetrack, but that car's dropped down to 33rd position.
And behind him, as he was doing that, Altway did the same thing, and you just seen the Ferrari retiring hurt after its gearbox maladies this morning into the pit box. Right, it's been a fairly frantic first 11 minutes, and we are about to complete lap number 7 then, 47 minutes still to run, as here you've got Christopher Mies, local driver, in 5th place, squabbling then with the Audi behind. 21 is Gilles Magnus as they come up towards the timing line. So Jordan Pepper, 0.6 of a second clear last time. He's now 0.8 of a second ahead of Feller. Vervisch 4th, Legerre 5th. Dennis Marshall is up next then, ahead of Mies, and then it's Magnus, Witt, Crutten and Schiller to round out the top 10.
Well, look at the squabbling going on, coming up into turn 2. Very aggressive defense from the 27, and, well, denies the following Audi the opportunity to get past, but that's going to be a pass surely coming down. That's Christopher Mies defending against Gilles Magnus. Goes to the inside, but that's going to be the wrong part of the racetrack when you get down to the hairpin, unless he can get a nose ahead of Christopher Mies, which he's done. Well done, Gilles Magnus, but Mies will always be late in the brakes. Can he get the position back? He knows this track intimately. Watch for the switch back from Magnus as he comes out on the hairpin. Christopher Mies, there's an object lesson. That's what race experience is all about.
And there was one similar going on ahead. Dennis Marshall was up the inside of Lucas Legerre, and he gained a place as well. Coming into the Spitzkehrer, there's in the background the Honda going wide, but also trying to dive bomb the traffic. So as ever, that hairpin is where you can do the overtaking. In the meantime here, Enrique Chavez in the surviving Gulf livery McLaren is on his toes, trying to find a way past the Porsche ahead of him. Robert Renauer at the wheel of it, and Renauer, number 91, busy battling with Simon Gachet, both ahead of the McLaren.
Yeah, the McLaren looked to me like it was being held up as they're going through that midfield, or mid part of the circuit, the infield part. So on board with the 188, this is the corner that takes you back into the stadium section of the circuit, then down the inside into Sachs curve. So he gets position, but then he's wedged in, he can't do anything. He's got the Porsche on the outside, has to back out of it to let the Porsche take its natural line, and he was running the quicker of the two at that particular point.
Battle for 15th, 16th and 17th going on here. Robert Renauer, Simon Gachet and then Enrique Chavez as they come up over the timing line. Jordan Pepper is still only a little bit ahead, and that is a rather damaged Ferrari for Andrea Bertolini, and that's not something you see very often. So Bertolini has had a big whack with a wall somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big whack, and that's coming out of turn 8.
Yeah.
And yeah, that, I mean, what he's done is just suddenly you can see the car mark, as if maybe something mechanical failed. The car just went sharpish left and ended up with the right rear of the car, and the bodywork heavily damaged.
Full course yellow called, so everybody has slowed right down. Full course yellow procedure then. 8 laps done, and busy it has been. Jordan Pepper's managed to steal a march there under the full course yellow deployment over Ricardo Feller, but I do expect that we'd end up going safety car for the resumption of the race. The full course yellow
now that might be the reason why the Ferrari has there been contact between the Honda, and that's the reason why, because that is not a part of the racetrack one normally expects to see a car into the barriers. So that was a pretty heavy old shunt, and that would have been coming into turn 8 from 7, which is a flat out kink to the right, then into turn 8 where you get on the brakes, and I suspect you can see the tire marks, and the Ferrari has hit that retaining wall, then bounced back off it.
And that's Baptiste Moulin who is in the pit. Hey, tell you what, there's going to be a lot of teams with a lot of work to do tonight. No cake for them, John, as there the Lamborghini is attended to, but that's probably picked up damage in that skirmish as well. Right, full course yellow procedure, but I would predict we'll end up going safety car, because the length of the full course yellow always means that the longer it is, the more likely you are to get to a safety car. Right, let's have a look then. There's a spinning Lamborghini, and as others try and avoid, I think Bertolini ended up taking evasive action. That's the Honda going off.
Yeah.
So he's
that
into
was,
the wall.
Oh, he hit a big time the rear of the car. We saw that with the Ferrari directly ahead behind the Lamborghini, and then all of a sudden it ends up the skid marks coming off the racetrack and then hitting the tire bales and then bouncing back again. So 2 cars off at a part of the racetrack which, in my view, normally is just you go through the procedure of driving through it. It's not challenging, it's not loading the car, but if you've got a load of traffic all at one part of the circuit looking for specifically where you are, then inevitably the contact can occur. So I don't know where Riccardo Fella has fallen. He shouldn't have fallen back so far, because you're meant to have a delta between the car that's leading and then those that are following behind. And it looks as if the gap between first and second is about 3 times what it was under racing laps.
So the cars come over the line, and let's see if we can eavesdrop in the Lucas Leggeret Audi. It's running in 5th place. Leggeret will give way to Christopher Hauser on the pit stops.
Yeah, you can try to move brake balance forward to help you in the last sector. 1 or 2 clicks. Okay, copy. I give the info to Azi. What is the job? Normally after full procedure they always put a safety car, so I guess it will be a safety car. The crash is
safety car
late,
procedure.
So you arrive there.
And as the COM2 engineer predicted, we go safety car. Speed quickens because the safety car is able to go faster than that delta speed for the full course yellow that John was mentioning. So we are indeed now going to be safety car for the restart.
So consequently everybody will then bunch back up in line astern. So the gap between the Lamborghini and the second place Audi, that's going to evaporate as Riccardo Fella gets himself into position. I don't know how many laps we'll have behind the safety car. Suspect it's going to be a relatively quick safety car deployment to get this race back underway. And we're coming up to 19 and a bit minutes into the race, and in little over 6 minutes the pit lane will be opening for a 10-minute period for that pit stop, driver change, tyre, wheel change, et al.
And of course, for every class other than bronze, they are what you might call a natural pit stop, as quick as you can. Only the bronze have to do them to a regulation time, but this is where the teams come into their own, cycling the cars through as fast as they possibly can. Right, so Jordan Pepper, when he came across the line last time, was 7 seconds ahead, having been about 6/10 ahead prior to that. So, yes, he was perhaps a little later at adapting to the full course yellow procedure.
You could say that, David. I certainly couldn't anymore.
No doubt it will be looked at to make sure it was all above board. In a sense, it's academic anyway, because they all catch up under the safety car, which is what's happened now. So the gap is down, ready for the resumption of the race. But no doubt somebody will ask exactly why that gap grew to the extent that it did. So the car's now up towards the end of the lap. I mean, if you don't slow to the regulation speed, then that is an offence. So it will be observed, that's for sure. Over the timing line come the race leaders. Pepper ahead of Fella from Verviche, 3rd, 4th Marshall. Dennis Marshall, number 66, leading in bronze. Safety car in this time. 5th is Leggeret, 6th is Mies, 7th is Gio Magnus, number 21 Audi, and that's the leading gold. 8th is Weerts, 9th is Crutten, and 10th is Costa. Right, the incident between Guidetti and Bertolini and also Baptiste Moulin under investigation, so something else for the stewards to have a look at. And after all of this, we're only going to be a couple of minutes or so away from the pit window opening once we go racing again.
Yes, and some of the cars will dive in at the earliest opportunity, but I suspect Jordan Pepper, Riccardo Fella, because his team driver, Matteo Drudi, the Fella and Drudi are one of the packages I think are always potential race winners. So whether they'll keep Fella out or just more or less mirror what I expect the lead Lamborghini is going to do, keep Jordan Pepper in until the last moments or so of the pit stop window. Of course, they'll all go and prove one wrong, that's for sure. So I suspect that, yes, Jordan Pepper's going to stay out and continue using that clear air to his advantage.
Right, so then with the temperature at 23.3 degrees, no wind at all, and the humidity 69% in the air, the cars making their way, they're now ready for the restart. Jordan Pepper controlling the pace, as he had to do earlier. And he comes then now into the stadium once more, and will slacken his pace to let the safety car get away, and then once he commits to accelerating, he's got to stay with that. So it was about here on the first restart that he went for the loud pedal, and goes now then. Safety car for the pit lane. We've got 3 minutes effectively before the pit window opens, and Riccardo Feller knows this is his chance to get the lead before the pit starts, but he can't do it until he gets to the timing line.
Absolutely not, but he has done for the second time after safety car deployment the right job. He's kept himself right under the rear wing of Jordan Pepper in the Lamborghini, and once again Fred Vervisch trying to do the same thing, but the pace of the two lead cars previously has been enough to draw them away from the rest of the field. Down into turn 2, and a line of cars diving down the inside. One of the McLarens, JP Motorsports, gets up alongside, takes the position away relatively easy from Jordan Love. So that was Christian Klein in the 111 McLaren, up from 13th into 12th.
So they wriggle their way out of turns 2 and 3, and then the speed builds all the way through the parabolica, 260 kilometres an hour, and then a hard brake to 60 kilometres an hour into the hairpin. Dive up the inside. That was Vervisch hanging on to third place. Dennis Marshall on the outside line couldn't make it stick, but goes for the inside line down towards 7. The Audi's almost toe-to-toe. Dennis Marshall leans and rubs, and he's got the inside line, and he goes through. Vervisch gets hung out to dry.
That could have been trouble at mill, but both drivers did a good job. Magnus having to defend as he finds Christopher Mies looking to get a wall around. Well, he's got ahead of Mies, yes. Side by side again, coming through the stadium part of the racetrack. Now into the stadium part. That's through turn 9 into 10. I mean, everybody had been offline coming in, and you get your tyres. Oh, look, but that's the problem. You got offline, you got your tyres choked, and that's one of the come to you. Is that Gilles Magnus that's gone off?
It's Legeret, I think, isn't it?
Okay.
Lucas Legeret, Nicholas Cruton getting involved. So because they've all bunched up, something had to give. The Audis are tripping over themselves. Christopher Mies was being very, very opportunistic, but Lucas Legeret here in the ComTU car that he shares with Haas has got a puncture by the look of it, and he's going to head for the pit lane. And all of that is at exactly the wrong moment, because there's another minute before the pit window opens. Leaders go through, Pepper, Feller, but Dennis Marshall doing a great job. He's third.
And the first of the two BMWs, Charles Fiat, has found himself in 6th position. Think of the points, boys. Think of the points.
So, battle is on. Further down the order, the Red Bull liveried Ferrari there. Look, Albert Costa gets up the inside of Gilles Magnus, makes the move, coming out of turn 2, goes through, gains the place, good pass that.
So all the pace that we saw from the Ferrari, which actually had the fastest single lap on 2 occasions, but both were taken away because of track limit abuse. So that car is arguably, with the driver pairing they have, the quickest in the field, getting closer to the front of this pack, running currently in 9th position, just under 6 seconds behind the race leader, and we've got pit stops to come. The pit lane window will be opening in 15 seconds.
So is anybody going to bail at the end of this lap? Riccardo Feller stuck behind Jordan Pepper. He can't get close enough to make a move. So does he bail and give way to Mathieu Drudi? This is number 188, Enrique Chavez, coming up onto the back of the Porsche of Klaus Bachler as they drop then now out of the Sachs Curva. So there the Porsche through, 188 behind Enrique Chavez in the McLaren. They're down to the stadium, right. So the pit window is now open, as you can see from the graphic. And in bronze, battle is on for 5th place. Bachler and Chavez. It's not their grading, of course, that puts them bronze, it's the co-drivers.
I wonder would someone like WRT take the opportunity to make a really early pit stop for Charles Fiat. One of the Audis already coming in. Look at this side by side into turn 1.
To the outside line on the grass and all is Riccardo Feller, and he does it, goes right round the outside of Jordan Pepper. They're both off the road, they're back on, but we've got a new leader. Feller takes over the lead, and you're right, Wirtz is in the pits, and so also is Cruton.
That was courage of a magnitude you don't see very often, but more importantly, great skill between the two drivers. That could have been both cars off the racetrack. Brilliantly done by Riccardo Feller and Jordan Pepper, but inevitably the Audi has looked to me to be the car that's got that slightly better level of grip balance than the Lamborghini, and he's now literally did force his way through, but done in a manner which was clean, and both drivers will be satisfied with that progress. Now we've got the 66 Dennis Marshall, who's also been on a march since this race got underway, looking to find a way to maybe put his car up into 2nd place before they all bail into the pit lane.
So on board now with Jordan Pepper. He was the chased, he's now the chaser. He's not dropping away from Riccardo Feller. He wants that lead back. Dennis Marshall third. You saw Fred Verviche amongst others in the pits, but there is the Audi cycling through its slow stop by the look of it. So Gilles Magnus in also. So Jordan Pepper through the stadium. We'll see at the end of this lap whether either of the two leaders pit. And what is happening behind is that Dennis Marshall has been lapping quicker than the pair. So the third-placed Audi, the leading bronze class car, is at the races.
Yeah, but now that fella's gotten clear, he's got clear air, he can run under his own natural pace. I think you'll find, oh, he's in the pit lane.
Yeah.
So, an unexpectedly early pit stop hands the lead back to Jordan Pepper in the Lamborghini. And now Dennis Marshall has got a clear run at the lead Lamborghini before he will have to make his mandatory pit stop.
Christopher Mies is in as well. And Jean-Baptiste Simonard is into the pit lane, getting very, very busy very early. Really the first couple of opportunities, people cycling through. So whether that's because I would have thought the tyres are suffering because they've had those full course yellow and safety car laps, but the teams in the majority of cases bringing cars in early. So Jordan Pepper back into the lead, and Albert Costa has done the fastest lap of the race in the Ferrari number 69 that's up into third place now. Just some way behind this lead battle, but in the background is the quickest car on the road. Valentino Rossi is in.
Yes, so they've brought him in relatively early. Maxime Martin gets in behind the wheel. So the car came in, it was 21st, so where it will return to the racetrack. Wait to see what Maxime Martin can recover for the 46 WRT BMW. Valentino getting rather hemmed in with the tyre changes on the left side of the car. The gap between Marshall and Jordan Pepper showed to be a second as they came across the line going on to lap 15. So that's probably much the same as they come back into the stadium, three-quarters way round lap 15.
It was a slow pit stop for Mathieu Drudi, 50 seconds. Christopher Mies was a slow stop at 52, whereas 42 seconds for the Nicholas Bart Audi and Charles Weerts on 44. So a number of teams have lost time in the pits. The leader is in. Jordan Pepper then heads for the pit road to give the leading Lamborghini over to Frank Pereira. Here he is.
And on the limiter coming in now to slow down to the mandatory 50 kilometers per hour in the pit lane. He can prepare his exit, but certain things he's not. Oh, what's this? I thought suddenly, but just the camera looked as if everybody had slowed down, but there was just that long range camera caused the effect. So Maxime Martin already looking to make up places on his outlap.
Yeah, getting himself up with the Audi was that Alex Arca's car. So Maxime Martin, winner at Bassano with Valentino Rossi, hard at work here.
But he's on fresh tyres. That's the benefit of fresh tyres. Certainly for this lap and the next couple or so laps, that fresh rubber as the former race leader gets underway. So the benefit to the BMW was very clear to see just how much pace and low. It's an outlap for Maxime Martin.
Now there is Mathieu Drudi, who lost time on the pit stops, and it was an average pit stop, Jordan Pepper to Franck Pereira, 49.2, not as bad as some, not as good as others. So Dennis Marshall yet to stop, so he leads at the moment from Albert Costa, and their battle is on as the Lamborghini, that's Pereira, tries to stay ahead of the BMW. They go toe-to-toe, look, and so now up alongside Dries van Thor with the BMW having the grunt, and he's also in a rhythm. He's able to breeze by.
Well, not quite, but anyway, he's got a BMW, but that's this car under Charles Vert's stewardship has also just recorded the fastest race lap, so suddenly the pace for the BMW, where we didn't see it in qualifying, maybe that 5 kilogram benefit towards the balance of performance is enough just to give it that little bit of pep.
Yeah, that fastest lap is Van Thor. The ID hasn't tripped over in the car. It's had its pit stop, so it's Dries van Thor at the wheel. Dennis Marshall still leads the way. Albert Costa now goes even quicker and does the fastest lap, 1:40.0. So it's Marshall to Costa, yet to stop. Fabien Schiller third, yet to stop. Then it's Zirkling, Renard and Simon Gachet rounding out the top 6. We look then for the best placed of the pit stoppers.
So we're saying Matteo Drudi, fastest sectors. This is...
That's the Mathieu Drudi Riccardo Fella Audi riding the curb at 16 and then back to normal pace and then slow it down again to have a look at the exit of the second part of that sequence at 17 over that serrated curb.
With these slow-mo cameras, looking at the sort of the body language of the Lamborghini versus the Audi, I felt that the Audi looked the better of the two brands. just particularly in those final 2 turns. And that's maybe why the pace that we saw coming from Riccardo Fella was basically not just in one corner, but it was all around the racetrack.
Now, Mathieu Drudy has done the fastest lap of the race. The best of those that have made a pit stop really now is number 12. So the Vervish to Bart Audi is ahead of number 40. Remember I said number 40 did a slow stop. It lost 8 seconds, whereas number 12 Audi, Nicholas Bart, taking over the Comp2U entry, was a very good one at 42. So the real race leader at the moment, number 12 Audi, ahead of number 40, and Dries van Thor is up to 3rd, effectively, in number 32 BMW. So Franck Pereira, another one that's lost out with a slowish stop.
So the battle going on between the Mercedes back to, this is 1st and 2nd place, yet non-stoppers. And again, Matteo Drudy just knocking out fastest laps every single lap.
So we need to see where these drivers blend back in after their pit stops, but they're fighting for class positions rather than overall anyway, in fairness, other than Marshall and Costa, who are a bit further up the road. That is Fabian Schiller in the bronze categorised Mercedes, the FIBA Motorsport car that he will give to Remo Giafali. And the full course yellow procedure of number 69, the Costa Vermeulen Ferrari, under investigation. So Albert Costa has a Damocletian investigation over him.
Patrick Niederhauser in the 25 Audi, absolutely flying, but he's having to do it from a long way back in 28th position, but knocking again, you know, finding his way, fighting his way through cars, slower cars, to find where would be his natural position within the field.
Now, right now, Nicholas Bart leads from Mathieu Drudy, but Drudy is very nearly a second a lap faster, so the gap is tumbling between the 2 Audis. You're looking at the traffic going out of turn 1, but further up the road is the battle between the best of the pit stoppers, and there is Maxime Martin coming through, just ahead of the Audi in the hands now of Patrick Niederhauser. Comes out of 17 over the curb.
And the Audi just carrying that front wheel, that Niederhauser 25 Audi carrying the inside front wheel, the unloaded wheel. Just another point of interest, Matteo Drudy going quicker and quicker again. Fastest race lap now, 1 minute 39.250. He is absolutely flying.
No question about it. Marshall is in, Costa is in, Schiller is in. So the top 3 into the pit lane. Now, this is the car that is the effective race leader and will inherit the real race lead this time. The fastest of the pit stoppers, the best placed of the stoppers, Nicholas Bart taking over from Fred Vervish. You can see there Albert Costa giving way to Thierry Vermeulen, and here is Nicholas Bart with Mathieu Drudy relentlessly chipping away behind him. So Nicholas Bart's going to have to rise to the occasion here. He comes up, will come out of turn 17 to cross the line. Drudy chasing him. So this now is 1 and 2.
Drudy took the best part of a second out of the advantage that Bart has, and we've got 25 minutes of this race remaining. So assuming he can maintain his pace, he will run down the race leader, effective race leader, relatively easily. But of course, once the benefit goes away from the fresh rubber, and I don't know how fresh the tires going onto the respective Audis would have been. Some have got fresher than others. Some may be held back 1 set to get a new set. We don't know, it's all speculation, but in the meantime, we know that Matteo Drudy is by far and away the quickest car on circuit.
So it is Nicholas Bart then leading ahead of Mathieu Drudy. Big dive being made here, look, as the cars head into the turn 2 sequence. Right, so that's the second place car. You need number 12 Audi. There it is, the blue one as the race leader. So it's number 12 Audi in the lead. Second is Mathieu Drudy. In the background, you'll see the 3rd placed BMW, Dries van Thor. So that car, again, after a good pit stop, is into the mix. But this is the leader, Nicholas Bart then, with an advantage at the start of this lap of 2.999 seconds over there in second place, Mathieu Drudy. So that's the lead battle. In 3rd, the red BMW, Dries van Thor at the wheel. You can see the gap, though, that's been pulled 2nd to 3rd. And then in 4th place now, it is Franck Pereira in the Lamborghini that led much of the first stint. But again, that's lost out on the pit stops.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the gaps between 1st and 2nd, it was just a fraction under 3 seconds as they came across the line at the end of lap 18. The benefit that both drivers enjoyed when they went out for their stints when the tires were at their freshest, that's all evaporated, going away. I mean, in fact, Bart has actually done a personal best in Sector 1, but we're not seeing anything green or purple from Matteo Drudy, who's been chasing him down, and that gap is still running at 2.9 seconds.
So Bart leads Drudy. The gap has halved almost, 1.8 seconds. Van Thor 3rd, Pereira 4th, Vermeulen in for Costa 5th. Sixth there is now Callan Williams taking over from Nicholas Crutten. In 7th place is Adam Eteke behind him in the Audi. So those two cars, BMW and Audi, fighting for the Gold Cup lead. In 8th place, number 111 McLaren, Dean McDonald. 9th is 31 BMW, Thomas Neubauer. And down to 10th, Christopher Hasler after Lucas Legeret went off the road. So out of all of that, Dennis Marshall, who has now given way to Andrei Bukovoz, that car drops down. Bukovoz's not as experienced and as quick as Marshall anyway, so that car sort of falls out of the leading mix. Thierry Vermeulen has done the absolute best first sector in the 5th place Ferrari, so that's another one to watch.
Taking over from Albert Costa, again illustrating just the pace that the Ferrari, the 296, has got, the natural pace it's got, but it's got to find a way up ahead of Frank Pereira, and then all the way into the top 3, which is the BMW of Van Thor, and then the 2 lead Audis, and that's a bit of a task with, what, 22 minutes remaining?
Well, right now, the lead gap continues to come down. Dries Van Thor is lapping fractionally faster than Nicholas Bart, the leader, but not as quick as Mathieu Drudy in 2nd spot. So he might be able to do something by the very end, but not convinced. Van Thor, then Pereira, and then Thierry Vermeulen in 5th place, coming through the stadium. So all of these are in the overall category. The best of the class cars is 6th, and it's Callan Williams keeping that Gold Cup lead ahead of Adam Eteke. The leading bronze is Andrei Bukovoz. The leading silver now is Alain Valente, taking over from Jordan Love.
The Ferrari is the quickest of this group of 3 cars, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Catching will be one thing, whether he can catch and carry forward a momentum, but he will run down the Lamborghini. It'll probably happen coming as they approach turn 5, whether he'll be sufficiently close to think about making a move. Remember, for Pereira's got to be thinking forward, trying to get away around Van Thor, and at the same time be very aware of the pace of Thierry Vermeulen in the 5th position Ferrari. The gap is not near enough to think about a pass, but he's getting on the lights to say, I'm here, I'm here.
So that Lamborghini, quickest in qualifying, has sort of faded away a bit as the race has gone on, hasn't it? Led early on, lost the lead, lost more on the pit stops, lost a place to the BMW after the pit stops, and could lose another one to the Ferrari.
To me, what we're saying is how each individual brand, the Lamborghini, the Audi, and now the Ferrari, are using their tyres. And I get a sense maybe that the Lamborghini has been a little bit more aggressive on the tyre than the Audi. And it's not that the Audis are going quicker. I think the Lamborghini is losing pace because it's losing grip.
Could well be. Top speed at turn 12 to Albert Costa in the Ferrari, 171 kilometres an hour. Dries Van Thor not shy. And that is turn 12 that they're coming out of. They're 3rd of the Speed Demons, Enrique Chavez, Finlay Hutchison tying with him, Dean McDonald in the McLaren likewise. So coming into the stadium, we've seen people drop it, but the brave being reflected in that speed. So
almost catch your breath now. I mean, it's sort of beginning to settle down a little bit, albeit this battle for 4th place is going to continue all the way through, and we've got Vermeulen who's run down these 2 cars, but again getting into the slipstream and just maybe losing a fraction of his momentum, and having his pace now being dictated by Frank Pereira, who cannot really do very much to do anything to get on terms with Dries Van Thor.
So there is from Pereira. He's dropping away, as you say, from Van Thor. The lead gap, though, is coming down. It's down to just over a second now, so it won't be long before Drudy is up with Bart, challenging for the race lead. Here you're looking at Thierry Vermeulen going after Frank Pereira, but he's not really close enough yet. Here are the leading Audis. Down they come towards the Spitzkehrer, and it's under a second now because, again, 2/10 pulled back in the first sector alone by Drudy.
Yeah, I mean, this car, both Feller and Drudy have done an excellent job, as they've done for me throughout the entire season. And Nicholas Bauer's going to feel the pressure from Matteo Drudy, and it's going to take maybe another couple of laps. Drudy needs to think about where are my strengths. I'm coming up against an identical car, so I don't have any car advantage over the car I'm pursuing. Best place obviously is going to be down into turn 5. It's the easiest and maybe cleanest part of the racetrack where you can make an overtake, but again, because of that, easily defended.
So time is on the side of Drudy. However, evenly matched cars, we've seen this so often in GT3 racing, you can catch, but getting past ain't that easy. The balance of performance aims to equate the brands. Well, here you've got 2 of the same, and it's going to be purely down to Drudy's ability, isn't it, behind the wheel. So Mathieu Drudy hunts down Nicholas Bart. Up towards the timing line they come. The ComTu Audi ahead of the orange one, Trezor entry, the margin half a second between them as they go across the line. The best that Bart's had this year is a 4th. Remember, Drudy has been a race winner.
And watch the body language of this Audi. Everything looks good. The following Audi, these are first and second place cars. Drudy more aggressive in the way he rode the curbs. The car bounced a little bit more. So watch on the exit what happens. Slide, 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 slide. Drops the wheel off. And you can see the skid blocks just clipping the ground. So, well, the gap now is almost down to less than half a second. Up the inside, no, but
maybe.
He's got, no, he hasn't. I thought maybe he might have had the benefit coming off, but the lead Audi, Nicolas Beat, was on the easier exit, had a more open exit to get on the throttle. But again, a challenge potentially to turn 8 because you go down the inside, slides it down, easy peasy, and that was maybe a little bit too easy. I don't think Matteo Drudy's going to agree, but that was not much of a defence from Beat in the lead Audi.
So Matteo Drudy takes over the race lead, and this is important for the championship. The best place of the leading cars in the championship on the grid are now leading the race outright. So into the stadium he comes, being chased by Nicolas Bart, who is still potentially on for his best result of the year. This could be a second win, though, for Drudy and Feller. And look, having caught and passed straight away, he is getting away. But this car is under investigation for overtaking outside of turn 16. Now, that must have been when he went for the race lead and put 2 wheels on the grass coming over the timing line. That's the only thing I can think of from earlier on in the race.
Well, that's all we have seen. But the race director and the stewards will have seen others. There is the battle of the Ferrari getting ever so close to the back of Frank Pereira in 4th place. So that gap is 0.4 of a second when they came across the line.
So number 40 Audi, the lead car, is under investigation for a move that effectively had 2 wheels on the grass. Ricardo Feller not very impressed about that. So it's up to the stewards now to have a look and deliberate and see whether there was an offence.
Well, the overtake didn't take place at turn 16 or into turn 1. It took place after here, coming to turn 5. Oh, Vermeulen getting, very defensive and very aggressive, and from both drivers, contact between the Ferrari and the Lamborghini, Frank Pereira. And is that damage to the Ferrari? I think it is. I think the Ferrari certainly it looked like it was much slower coming off turn 5 than on previous occasions. There was a flick of carbon fibre from one of the 2 cars. I think one of those dive planes in the front of the Ferrari is missing this on the right side. So part of the aero on the front of the Ferrari has been dislodged. Or maybe it hasn't. Maybe it's just been adjusted.
Well, either way, the lights are flashing again, but Thierry Vermeulen, who is a relative whippersnapper compared to the experienced Franck Pereira, staying with him as they come then now into the stadium once again. Vermeulen, whose father, remember, manages Max Verstappen. He only started racing really back in 2020, did Vermeulen, in Porsches, but has in a very short space of time become a really quick GT racer, and he's chasing after Lamborghini factory driver Franck Pereira, who comes up towards the line now. Drudy leads the way, getting away from Bart by 0.8 of a second. Then it is Vanthor running in 3rd place as he goes by.
So Frank Pereira has consolidated that major challenge from Vermeulen down into turn 5 and on the exit. So again, the Ferrari will try to get himself into a position here so that when they exit turn 2 through 3, then the long curve 4 into 5, then, or into 5, which is the hairpin bend, he will try to repeat, but maybe with success this time. The gap between the 2 cars is greater than it was on the previous lap.
So we're into the final 15 minutes. You can see how Dries Vanthor in 3rd place is scarping up the road. Vermeulen not close enough on this lap to make a dive up the inside, so has to sit tight. Behind them in 6th place is Callan Williams, hanging on to the lead of gold. Christopher Hasser is up into 9th. Up into 10th is Alberto Di Folco, and down to 11th has dropped the BMW of Thomas Neubauer.
Yeah, 2 places in the space of the last lap. So whether that's a problem for the BMW or whether the pace of Hasser and Di Folco was just sufficient to pull them through and ahead.
So there's Vermeulen up towards the stadium, coming out of turns 8 and 9, chasing after the Lamborghini, still trying to buy back the lost ground, isn't he?
Yes, I mean, that contact, I suspect, has done a small amount of aero damage to the front of the Ferrari, and that it might be relatively minor in terms of what it looks like, but it may have a bigger effect behind the wheel for Vermeulen than he anticipates.
So there, number 99 But the problem, it's crabbing, isn't it, that car?
I don't know. It certainly looks like something's not right. You can
It's
see,
crabbing.
Oh, yes.
Broken suspension.
Rear suspension.
Yeah, so that's Alex Arca, who, remember, is the Silver Championship leader, and something has broken, possibly after contact.
Time penalty added to the final racing time for car 68 and car 27 disrespecting track limits.
27 is the Mies de Moustier Audi, and the other car that's being given a penalty, number 68, so 5-second time penalty. But yeah, this is Arca.
So where did... Oh, but suddenly it just went. Oh, no, it was hit
big
from
bang.
behind.
Yeah.
So that was a fairly hefty... And that's broken probably one of the toolings. And it was all over the shop trying to get the car back into some form of control. And once that toe link is bent or broken, the rear wheel is pointing completely... Well, the toe-in is about 50 feet or something.
So that car down to retirement. So this is what's being looked at for number 40 Audi. Coming out of turn 17, off the road, gets squeezed in fairness, but he's back on there to be alongside. So that was just hard racing, wasn't it?
In my view, that was hard but fair, and yes, he sweeps through. So Ricardo Feller having a look and concern on his face, because yeah, what can he do about it? There's nothing he can do about it.
No.
And in fairness, the Lamborghini did come across on the Audi, so one might say, was that force majeure?
And also, Drudy got himself back onto the tarmac as soon as he could. There was space. So anyway, the stewards will look, and one hopes the right decision is made as Drudy goes through then as the race leader, getting away from Bart now. So Nicholas Bart's last lap, 1 minute 40.3. And Van Thor 1 minute 40.8. No, he's not catching anymore. No. Pereira still fourth, Vermeulen fifth, and then it's Callan Williams sixth ahead of Ateki seventh. They're the top two in gold. Here coming towards us eighth, Dean McDonald. But right behind him is Haase, and there 10th, Alberto Di Folco. Look who's up to 11th, Maxime Martin.
Absolutely, you took the very words out of my mouth. Because I've been watching Maxime Martin. He benefited from Neubauer, who fell back 2 positions, and then once Martin got behind Neubauer, passed him, job done. He's got DeFalco, what, 7/10 of a second up the road. That ought to be relatively easy. The next overtake will be a lot more difficult. Christopher Haase, who alone is only, what, a second and a half ahead of DeFalco. That will, with time running down, 11 minutes or so on the clock.
So that's Haase up the inside of Dean McDonald. Thinks about it, can't do it. Brakes very, very late. Needs the undercut coming out of the corner, but McDonald fends him off at least for now.
Now Haase had to cut away because he was going to make contact with the McLaren. So that was a quick cut to the left to avoid running into the back of Dean McDonald, running in 8th position.
So nose to tail they run then, with the McLaren just ahead of the Audi, but Christopher Haase, with all of his experience, looks as though it's going to be when, not if, he gets past. And here it comes, out of the arena, down to the stadium. He's up the inside, the road will come to him, and Christopher Haase goes 8th on the inside line.
And in spite of having a 10 kilogram weight adjustment in the BOP, have to say the Audis have looked to be the class of the field from what we've seen so far with just 10 minutes to go.
So Haase, next target, Adam Ateki. The race, as John says, 10 minutes on the clock, and it is Matteo Drudy leading by 2 seconds now from Nicholas Bart. Then Van Thorpe, Pereira, Vermeulen and Williams in the BMW in 6th. The BMW certainly looking a bit more racy come the race than in qualifying earlier on.
Yeah, again, if they got 5 kilograms weight taken out of their car, so it's a small amount, but sometimes these small amounts all contribute to an lifting performance. Look at Martin now, right on to the tail of DeFalco, who's right on the tail of Dean McDonald, who's not quite right on the tail of Christopher Haase.
So you're on board with Maxime Martin. A place in the top 10 beckons, doesn't it, as the cars now sprint up towards the Spitzkehre, nudging 260 kilometres an hour at this part of the circuit, and then a heavy brake from 6th gear down to 1st gear for the hairpin.
So Maxime Martin being very circumspect in braking, not attempting to overtake, but just knowing this racetrack as he does, coming up into turn 7. So will he think about it? He's having to breathe the throttle rather than overrun. Again, it's been the defence from DeFalco is precluding anything that Maxime Martin wants to do into turn 8 and 9, then cuts back, watches the undercut coming on through 10. He's not able to do, he can't build his own momentum. He's having to wait all the time for DeFalco to get off his line and give him clear air.
So Martin into the stadium.
Car 25, car 26 and car 65. 5-second time penalty added to the final racing time, disrespecting track limits.
Right, so more and more track limit penalties come, just to throw the order upside down. We'll worry about that in a moment as you watch Martin coming up towards turn 16 and 17. There is Vermeulen, who's got himself back with Pereira for 4th place now.
Yeah, the car looks very scrappy around the right front. He's got past easily. There's a problem with the Lamborghini.
There must be.
Yeah, it looks like a rear tyre has got cut down.
Yeah, you're
that
right.
Left rear looks like it's smoking. It is. It's off the rim virtually. What a disappointment. What a great effort indeed by VSR Racing. And to end up in this situation with a cut down left rear wheel tyre and nothing at all that Frank Pereira is able to do but limp back to the pit and sort of mitigate any further damage from the tyre. Let's say it's falling apart, running back a little bit too quickly.
So big disappointment for the car that was on pole position. And of course that's going to help Martin and others gain a place. So down to the hairpin, Maxime Martin still on the back there, look, of De Falco, but they've all moved themselves up past the stricken Lambo.
I wonder, is that the consequence of the contact that occurred between Vermeulen and Pereira, because it's the right rear against the left front of the Ferrari, and maybe that's whatever occurred took 3 or 4 laps for it to manifest itself. Maxime Martin slides down the inside. Is he going to get it done? He's forced his way through. De Falco had to concede. So a forceful, experienced overtake from the Belgian driver.
Not done yet either, is he? With 7 minutes to go, there might be another place, and Ateki's also going to, De Falco is going to lose out to Engelhardt, who's gone by in the Porsche.
Yeah.
So some VDS car drops back.
I mean, Engelhardt was all over that like a rash. He read it, he saw what was happening, and he used it to his good effect. He's thinking, can I get that position now from the BMW? Maybe my Porsche, what with 6 and a bit minutes remaining, might just have enough gas in the tank to put the BMW demoted from where it is currently in, well, it will be 10th place when they come across start-finish line.
So Drudy leads Bart, Van Thor is 3rd, 4th is Vermeulen, 5th Williams, 6th Iteki, 7th is Haase, 8th is McDonald, 9th is Martin, 10th is Engelhardt, De Falco is 11th, Niederhauser up to 12th, Neubauer 13th, Everard 14th, Valente is 15th, and Pereira limps onto the pit lane. The top speed at turn 1, the bravest, is Albert Costa, 173 clicks.
When you look at turn 1, that's a pretty good lick they're going through there. I mean, it's used to be a big break, a couple of gear changes in the good old days. It's a different corner now. It's much more open, much easier corner in some respects. Watch this little battle, Niederhauser. Is he going to swoop past? He's got the pace to do it, but is he? Well, again, it's looking for the undercut. So he's looking to find a way around De Falco, which I think he's going to do fairly comfortably, because he's coming up into turn 8, turn 7. Yeah, clears, and De Falco doesn't offer up any real challenge.
Just had drama coming into the stadium as well, the last couple of corners where I think Pereira and Ramos got themselves together. The slow Lamborghini almost being tripped over by the McLaren, and that's coming to the pit lane as well. Meantime, battles rage on. The cars flash past the wall cam down to the stadium. Gives you a real idea of the speed of the cars when they go past there. So that's from Pereira in the pits and effectively out of the race. They're going to assess the damage, but he's not going to get any points. There's the McLaren that also was in strife in the stadium, but that's going back out. So away goes now Miguel Ramos.
I mean, you don't know if there's any other damage than just the fact the rear tyre's been cut down. Bodywork can be damaged. More importantly, you need to check around the rear suspension.
So that car pushed into its box. The leaders dive up through turn 3. This is the bottom end of the top 10 coming out of turn 1. Maxime Martin then, as you look now at the fight for 3rd, Vermeulen has got himself up with Van Thor very effectively. 4 minutes and a bit remain. Can we get the Ferrari up into the top 3 before the end of the race?
In a word, yes, he can. Because the Ferrari has got more pace than certainly the BMW and other cars that he's found a way around relatively easily. Now, Dries Van Thor is a doughty competitor, and he will know with 4 minutes on the clock, he isn't going to give this up without serious fisticuffs.
Big flash of the lights by Vermeulen. Down they come towards turn 8. Closes right onto the back of the BMW, that very aero-friendly Ferrari, the new 296, new for this year. It's had a really good track record, of course, for a new car, winning, for example, not only races in this championship, but in the Nürburgring 24 Hours as well and elsewhere. But Vermeulen, in his first season of racing at this level, taking the battle to a triple Sprint Cup champion. He might be able to catch, but he's going to have to work hard to find a way past Van Thor.
Yeah, I mean, Dries Van Thor's got so much experience, knowledge, and he's a racer as well. And that's a key. If you're just a racing driver, you're maybe an easy target. If you're a racer, as Van Thor is, you are no easy target.
Over the line they come. Margin between these two cars for third and fourth places was just under 6/10. It's now just under 3. Out of turn 1, 3.5 minutes on the clock. So we're looking at, what, 2 laps? Up towards turn 2 comes Dries Van Thor, and Vermeulen is close, but the move for the hairpin starts here.
It absolutely does, and Dries Van Thor will fully be aware of that and watch what's going on further back down through the field. So this is Niederhauser and Christian. Oh dear me. Rude springs to mind.
That was Dean McDonald in the McLaren.
Yes.
Patrick Niederhauser in the blue Audi. Here's your fight for third. Yellow flag in this sector of the lap, and so Vermeulen's got to get on with this very soon because he's running out of overtaking opportunities.
He's going to have a little thought about it there. We see now, will this see certainly it'll be a localized yellow, I suspect. Maybe a full course yellow, but with only 2.5 minutes to go, I suspect race director will let it run to the finish. Look at the concern on the face of the WRT team. Vincent Voss, Yves Vert, and there's the danger. That car is just off racetrack. So, well, I think it's going to be allowed to run with, what, just 2 minutes to go. And Vermeulen climbing all over the curbs as he comes back into the stadium.
So the BMW just gapped the Ferrari by a length or so. Out here they come of turn 13, through that little S, and then up towards the last couple of corners on the lap. As over the timing line has just gone Mathieu Drudy in the lead. And this is the fight for third place then, with 2 more laps. We've still got time for 2 more. So through goes Van Thor. The margin to Vermeulen was 0.283. The margin is 0.338. Gone up slightly, but Vermeulen is always quick on this section of the circuit. Let's see what he can do about Van Thor. Lead gap 4.5 seconds then. Drudy looking as though it's going to be a second win of the year.
Yeah, the gap between the 2 cars coming into turn 2, more or less. And let's have a look and see. This is the slow-mo again. Yes, this is the left front of the car. This is what I had seen damaged. Now that, you think, well, that's pretty minor, but it is minor, but it will have a bearing, a small bearing on the overall, how the car handles, particularly on that, going into a right-hand corner as we're just watching through turn 16 and 17.
And it's there for a reason, and it's not as it was designed, so clearly it's going to have an impact. As out of turn 6 they come, and heading towards that yellow flag zone. So this is where Van Thor has got to go defensive, and then he's able to preserve the place as they go through that yellow zone. Down towards turn 8, Vincent Voss looks on in his trademark flat cap, and Vermeulen can't find a way through at this part of the circuit.
Well, Vincent Voss is fully aware that the pace of the Ferrari is greater right now than that of the BMW, but the advantage that Van Thor has got is he's got track position. And no matter how much of the curbing or whatever Thierry Vermeulen is using to get us away through, try and get away through, Dries Van Thor's not falling for it.
So Mathieu Drudy up to start the last lap. There is this investigation, of course, hanging over that car for the dramas of taking the lead around the outside and 2 wheels on the dirt, but we'll worry about that post-race. As through now comes Drudy. He leads the way. Into turn 1 he goes. The Audi behind, that's Finlay Hutchison, who's a lap down. That's the Audi that's in second place. Number 12, the sister car, Nicholas Bart at the wheel of it. And that margin has grown to 5.7 seconds, but Nicholas Bart still on for his best result of the year in the car that he shares with Fred Verviche. Third, Van Thor. Fourth, Vermeulen. The gap 0.193 of a second when they went across the line.
There is the 12, which is Nicholas Bart. So he's effectively consigned to second place as our race leader. Comes down into the hairpin bend for the final time on a race lap. So Matteo Drudy and Riccardo Feller have been excellent. Oh, side by side! Will body rubs be a part of this final run into the final, the hairpin bend? And again, Van Thor has got the inside line. While it's not necessarily the quickest out contact again between the Ferrari and the BMW, so Very aggressive young Vermeulen, isn't he?
Should he have backed out of that sooner and tried to get the undercut like he had to think about here? Vanthoor doing a good job of defending, but Vermeulen braved it out on the outside.
But Vanthoor is backing off, deliberately trying to slow down Vermeulen, force him to come off the throttle, so that when Vanthoor gets back on the throttle, Vermeulen will be off the throttle. That's the tactic I think that we're seeing from Dries Vanthoor to defend. And look at the way the BM slides as it comes into the stadium.
One corner to go. Mathieu Drudy is on target to win race 1 of the weekend in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup. Mathieu Drudy, Ricardo Feller win at Hockenheim. Nicholas Barton, Fred Vervish second, and Vermeulen dives up the inside of the last corner to go third. Fantastic, the Ferrari has done it. Vermeulen goes through, and he's had to work hard for that.
Absolutely, and what a courageous and opportunistic move by Thierry Vermeulen to make that move and catch Dries Vanthoor. And look, you can see the response and reaction from the faces in the WRT team. They hadn't anticipated that. They thought their driver had done sufficient to consolidate a podium position. Vermeulen saw the opportunity, stuck the Ferrari on the high ground and got through.
Well, that was bold, and to get past Dries Vanthoor, you've got to be good. 5th, Callan Williams for WRT to win gold ahead of Adam Matecki. 7th, Christopher Hauser from Maxime Martin. 8th. Now, that's quite a save, isn't it, given where that car started, which was about Tuesday.
Started in the 20s.
Yeah, it was that far back. Where was it? The 18th row of the grid, Valentino Rossi and Maxime Martin's car. 8th, 9th, Christian Engelhardt. Alberto Di Falco coming through to round out the top 10. The winning bronze, you've just seen a very happy Audi come over the line, or happy drivers of the Audi, because after Dennis Marshall's very good opening stint, Andrei Mukovoz comes through to win in bronze, ahead of Ralph Bohn and Robert Renauer, and third, Alex Malikin and Klaus Bachler. So that's a good result for the Audi drivers, but great effort by Drudy and Feller, and let's hope that investigation about them getting the lead really doesn't affect the result.
So here we go again. Look, Vermeulen, and does he run into that? He does. He does hit the rear of the BMW. Did that destabilize the car? Did it force the BMW fractionally offline onto the dirtier part of the racetrack? And he was defenseless. You can see the BMW sliding. Ferrari sliding likewise. And again, a second kiss just to make, you know, kiss you once, okay, kiss you twice just to tell you I do love you.
Well, in super slow-mo, it looks even more dramatic, doesn't it? Both cars fighting for traction. 2 little bits of contact, but when you slow it right down, you can see the effect of it. Fantastic, that. The camera's worth its weight in gold. I love it. It's some amazing shots out of that. More penalties for track limits are coming, but whether anything's going to really come of those little bits of contact, we will wait and see. Stay on the social media channels and stay with us for tomorrow's race, because the story will no doubt be updated. But for now, at least, we can say well done Mathieu Drudy and Ricardo Feller for a second win. Well done Nicholas Bart, Fred Vervish, best of the year. Well done Albert Costa and Thierry Vermeulen for their best. In silver, a win for Jordan Love, and well done Alain Valente, parachuted in at the 11th hour, so straight away getting on with the programme.
Got on with the programme, car is blemish-free.
Yeah.
They won their class. That Valente, particularly jumping in at the 13th hour, did an excellent job. The second in the class, Gil Perez compact, and then Maximilian Paul on his debut finishes third in the silver category. So another excellent drive from a driver new to our series.
And there is the bronze winner, Dennis Marshall and Andrei Mukovoz, as Ricardo Feller and Mathieu Drudy celebrate their win. Second of the season, Ricardo Feller, who's been very, very good in these races, very good in the DTM style GT racing. And the winners' caps brought forward. Mechanics from the teams go and congratulate them. And Mathieu Drudy, who did that second stint, Italian GT endurance champion. Ricardo Feller, German GT champion a few seasons ago, but for a time, single-seater racer as well in Formula 4. He was in the German Championship about the same time Mathieu Drudy was in the Italian F4 Championship, and now they are a very good combination, winning in GTs.
Yeah, I mean, they've, since the beginning of the season, this duo has been a really, really strong. At times we thought, but I certainly had my money on them to win Spa 24, and they led that race for a considerable amount of time, but here they have a dominant win, and fully deserved.
Let's hear from the winners. Gemma's down there.
Congratulations, boys. That was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
Get your hat back on there and ready to come across to you, Mathieu. First, of course, you finished that race there. Absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, I think we didn't have the best pit stop ever, I think. We lost quite a lot of gap between with the Come2You car. but actually our car was mega. Today was flying. Ricky this morning in qualifying was flying. He did a really good job in the first stint, overtaking the Lambo at the end. And yeah, I mean, I just kept driving. The car was really fast. I tried to manage the tires because I knew it's really warm, so we were a bit afraid from the drop on the rear axle. But yeah, I mean, it's a win. We need to get back what we lost in Misano, so it's a good way to start.
Riccardo, the Lambo held you off for quite a while, and there's still a bit of investigation going on over that overtaking move.
Really?
Really?
Really? I don't know. Honestly, from my side, I think it was fine. He did a mistake or had some oversteer in the last corner. I had to avoid him as I was coming quite much faster. He gave me space. We went side by side through the whole straight, and then to turn one for me was fine. But let's see what they decide. But for the moment, I'm happy. I think there's not much more we could have got. Maybe the pit stop, but the rest was perfect.
Congratulations to you both. You can make your way to the podium. Well done.
Well, Riccardo Feller sums up how he saw that little moment, but a good drive by both of them, a really good win.
I mean, they are an excellent pairing and a thoroughly deserved victory. I mean, what we saw Riccardo Feller do, and I mean, he said, what penalty?
Yeah.
A racing driver's perspective of an incident that's been recorded is entirely different to that of the race director, and that's where the argument or the discussion then follows.
What about Silva? A win for Alain Valente and Jordan Love with Gemma right now.
Alan, we'll get him back in a second. Jordan, that was a last-minute step in for Alan to join you for the weekend, but what a result.
Yeah, look, obviously he's done a great job to step in last minute. It's incredibly tough, and he's done a mega job today. So, yeah, to come away with the win is pretty special, and yeah, obviously we want to put our hearts out to Frank and the entire Bird family. Obviously it's a tough time for them, so yeah, obviously this one's for them, and yeah, it's been a tough weekend, but super happy to come out on top.
Yeah, bittersweet for that victory there, of course. And Alan, you didn't even know you were going to be driving this weekend, let alone taking a win.
Of course, it feels great. The circumstances that I'm here are really bad and sad, but I try to do my best to help the team, to help Jordan, and we did it for the Bird family, and we're happy. Thank you.
I'm sure the Bird family are very proud. Thank you very much. Congratulations, boys. Off to the podium.
And they will be joined there by other class winners like Callum Williams and Nicholas Critton that won gold, and Dennis Marshall and Andrei Mukovoz that won in bronze. So the drivers heading in that direction, all those podiums to come, championship points to be added up, and of course that's going to affect the championship order going into tomorrow's race, qualifying for which takes place tomorrow morning, so completely standalone day. Right, let's hear from Callum Williams and Nicholas Critton then, our gold winners with Gemma.
Gents, that's a class win. Nicholas, we spoke to you coming into the start of the weekend and you were feeling confident. You've been so consistent already this year.
Yeah, so far it's all going well. Obviously this morning was a little bit of a shame in quali, but yeah, so far everything went well. We thought that we can maybe have a good shot in the race, and we had a very good start. Managed to pick up some places, and it's good to come away with the win. Obviously Callan also did a good job in his stint, and yeah, special thanks to the team manager Maxime, who is unfortunately not with us this weekend, as he didn't give birth, but his wife certainly did. So yeah, this win is for them, and I think we can be proud of what we did today.
Absolutely. Callan, I mean, bringing that home at the end there, how tough was it in that last part of the stint?
Yeah, I mean, it was good fun. Unfortunately, we lost a couple seconds in the pit stop just because we had to wait for another car to come through. So we would have been, even further up without that, but still, it was a good result. Yeah, stint was good. I had the number 10 Audi right behind for the whole stint. Managed to pull a bit of a gap and then lost all of that gap coming upon some back markers. So then it was another fight at the end with some old tyres, but yeah, it was a nice race. Nicholas did a great job in qualifying in the first stint, and yeah, it was great to finish in P5 overall and top of the gold class.
Absolutely. Congratulations to you both. Well done.
Thank you.
Just looking at the timing and scoring, that car winning the gold category in 5th position overall only finished 1.1 seconds behind Dries van Voor. That's the mega car, the 32 car, and there they are. I mean, Callum Williams probably a driver we didn't see an awful lot of, but an excellent one nonetheless.
3rd win of the season for Callum Williams and Nicholas Critton within the Gold Cup, and the BMW scoring honours then in gold. And as John makes the point, just over a second adrift of the overall category car in 4th place. Right, so that's the view looking down from the podium into a rather busy pit lane. The drivers making their way up the steps, as are the team representatives. So let's just confirm the way that they finished in the first of the 2 races of the weekend. Riccardo Feller and Mathieu Drudi ahead of Fred Vervisch and Nicolas Bart, Albert Costa and Thierry Vermeulen coming through for 3rd. 4th, Charles Witz and Dries Van Voor ahead of Nicholas Crutten and Callum Williams, the winning gold. And 6th, Adam Ateki and Cesar Gazo. Lucas Legeret 7th with Christopher Hauser. 8th, Valentino Rossi and Maxime Martin ahead of Adrian Delina and Christian Engelhardt. Top 10 rounded out by Aurelian Panis and Alberto Di Folco. Winning silvers were in 12th, Jordan Love and Alain Valente. And the winning bronze, Dennis Marshall, who did lead overall in his stint, and Andrei Mukovoz finishing in 18th spot. And with quite a lot of them not making it to the end, a lot of work for the teams to do overnight to get the cars ready for an early start tomorrow for qualifying for the 2nd race of the weekend. Right then, amassing behind the podium are drivers aplenty. They'll be brought forward in a few moments' time, ready for that podium. You can see how many didn't get to the end, mainly with damage, whether it was a serious incident or running over debris and having a problem as a legacy of that. But it stemmed right to the opening lap of the race, as perhaps was inevitable with such a strong field and a busy field. Thierry Vermeulen and Albert Costa, amongst others, all chatting about their race. Dennis Marshall is there. And in a moment or two, on instruction, we'll have the drivers on to the podium. A busy day of GT racing at Hockenheim, so the organisers trying to rattle on with the podium as quickly as, but a 2nd victory of the season, and that's going to be really beneficial for the championship for Drudi and Feller.
Yeah, and I mean, in the sprint events, I mean, I don't know who are going to be their principal challengers. Clearly the 88 Mercedes leading that championship battle, but the balance between the 2 drivers is not as equal as it would be between Feller and Drudi, so that gives them a slight leg up. And here I've been clearly the pace that Audis have illustrated. I mean, I didn't expect it. Even with a 10-kilogram additional weight BOP adjustment, they still had the pace, and the car, particularly the 40, looked really, really good. The balance and the grip levels are all the way through to be very constant.
So the overall top 3 in reverse order being called forward. So Albert Costa and Thierry Vermeulen are there now for his best results of the year. Nicolas Bart with Fred Vervisch steps forward. Fred remaining at Audi for this year, whereas of course last year he was with Valentino Rossi, but Valentino going to BMW. Fred stays for 1 more year loyal to Audi before the team absents itself from GT racing. For the Orange One Trésor Racing squad, the team representative is on the podium. And the winning drivers will be next. Mathieu Drudi and Riccardo Feller victorious in race 1 at Hockenheim. Mathieu Drudi steps forward first, congratulates the vanquished drivers, and then along with Riccardo Feller heads to the top step of the podium. So the national anthem for the winning team, and the drivers stand in anticipation of the trophies. And for 3rd place, as Jörg Bensemann, the president of the local club, steps forward to give the trophies to Albert Costa and Thierry Vermeulen, and then to the 2nd place crew of Nicolas Bart and Fred Vervisch. The biggest trophies of all, the gold trophies to the winning drivers for the Orange One Trésor team, run by Temto Racing. Victory at Hockenheim for Riccardo Feller and Mathieu Drudi. Trophies in the air, 2 very happy drivers. Not only the win, but also the points. And with championship leaders Raffaele Marciello and Timo Bogusławski not even getting through the first 10 laps, that deals them a big blow in the championship and helps these 2 with the win markedly. It's going to be really interesting to see what that does going into tomorrow's race.
Well, tomorrow's a new day, another day, so we'll have Raffaele Marciello carrying out the qualifying duties for the 88 Mercedes. That will, I think, readjust the true pace of Mercedes here this weekend.
So it is going to be, as John has said, another day tomorrow, another race. Qualifying to come in the morning, race in the afternoon. We look forward to more action. For today, from Gemma Scott, John Watson and David Addison, it's goodbye from Hockenheim.